and you want to sit with the really cool kids, well, stay tuned. We're going to give you all the questions that a beginner should ask, plus a bonus travel tip. I'm Ali, and I'm sitting here again with my main people, Victoria and Patrick, and they're going to help me break down the beginner's questions that you may have if you've never smoked a cigar, never been to a cigar bar, but you've been curious. Stay tuned. We're going to teach you. Welcome, Victoria and Patrick.
Hey.
Hi, what's going on?
Oh, pretty good. Uh, Still reviewing some of the cigars. I did go out yesterday and I tried a My Father the Judge.
Ooh, yes, that's a good cigar.
Yes, it was my first time, and it was a mid. To me, it was like a mid. I think it's like mid to full, but it was an interesting smoke. I mean, it stayed consistent all the way through. I enjoyed it, like just a little nut and I think caramel flavor that I got from it. But yeah, My Father the Judge, definitely thumbs up. A winner.
So that was number one on the Cigar Aficionados cigar. That was number one cigar last year on
Oh
cigars.
wow! See, and I had no idea. See, I know what the number one cigar is. I'm learning. Everybody, stay
Yeah.
tuned. Stay in. Let me drop a bomb on that one. If y'all stay tuned and listen to us, you're gonna learn as well. So the first thing you gotta learn when you get into our top five questions for beginners is what is the different cuts between the vitolas? And first, explain vitola. What is a vitola? I was today years old when I first heard that term, vitola.
So it's just a Spanish meaning. When the Cubans were rolling cigars, they call them vitolas, and all it is the different shapes, the different sizes, ring gauges on your cigar. So, you know, you have fatter cigars, you have smaller cigars, you have thinner cigars, you have torpedo shaped cigars. So it's just a mixture, and that meaning is literally just the shape of your cigar.
Size matter.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's important to know the size, especially
yeah,
when it comes to the cutters. You want to be sure that you have the right cutter for the cigar that you're smoking.
yeah, it is correct. Because there's some big ring gauges out there that are 80 plus, and your typical cutters will not cut those. So you got to come up with either an ingenious way to do it, or you just got to get a big cutter, and they're out there.
No, I mean I've seen a
Yeah.
cigar damn near this long yesterday.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, and it was round. And I'm like, what are we gonna do? What are you gonna do with that? Is that even legal to smoke? I'm like, you're gonna start off in the morning with coffee on that smoke, and then you're gonna have lunch with that smoke, and you're gonna have dinner with that smoke, and you're gonna go to bed with that smoke. And
Yeah,
if you ain't
pretty
think
much.
like me, you might wake up again the next morning and repeat the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a
a
lot of smoke.
smoke. Hmm.
Have you ever seen anyone smoke something that size?
Yeah, actually, there's a couple out there that I mean are probably about a yard long, and they're special cigars, but they're out there, and I've seen some people smoke them 6.5 hour smokes. So but that's also with the vitolas. You got to kind of figure out what size works best for you and the smoking time you have.
I guarantee it would take me more than six and a
Oh,
half hours to smoke that cigar.
3 days probably. Just have to
Yeah.
pace it out.
So there's different cuts.
Yes. So, when you're beginning into cigars, a lot of people tend to go to like the flavored cigars. So it's going to have a sweeter tip. So with the sweeter tips, like this Sweet Jane Dominicana, it's a sweeter tip. So you want to not really cut the cap on it. So they have what's called a punch cut. I don't know if you really see it, but it's a little hole. So it doesn't break the cap and you still get that sweetness with it. You're
Oh,
going to
I
do that
didn't
with,
know that.
yeah,
So
the sweet Janes, your Javas, anything that's flavored that's going to have that sweetness on that cap, you don't want to break it because then you lose that
The
sweetness and
flavor.
you're cutting literally when you're cutting a cigar, you're cutting the cap off. But with this, it keeps the cap intact.
And you can taste the difference.
Yeah.
Me that I smoke the sweet ones, I do prefer the punch over a straight cut.
now, is there anywhere when you do the punch, and especially you put the punch and then you start to get the little bit of the cap that peels and get into your mouth? Is there
Hmm.
any way to prevent that, or is it just I'm using bad technique?
It's not really a bad technique. It could be the way the cigar was rolled, but sometimes that happens, and It could be a dull cut that you have on your cutter, or like I said, it could just be the way the cigar was wrapped. But usually, if you want to, you can try to moisten it up a little. It's kind of like put it in your mouth, roll it around, kind of get it moist before you cut it, and then you cut it. It should help uh, stop that serrated edges and the tobacco kind of going into your mouth.
So if you're new in the cigar world and you hear somebody say, "Let me see your punch," this is what they're talking about. They're not talking about punching someone.
No.
It's the little small round thing that they stick on the end of insert into the cigar so you'll be able to smoke it.
Yeah.
And let's go with the V cut. One of my favorite cuts. Actually, I V everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know no better. It don't matter what it is, throwing a V cut on there.
So like when you're doing a V cut, literally what it's doing is you're making a big gash in the cap of it, which is going to enhance the flow, but also kind of filter it because it's not a full flow like the straight cut. So it's just our guillotine cut. So it's just a kind of a filtered flow. It's still a heavy flow, but it's a filtered flow, so you get more of the flavor of it. And those you can literally cut any cigar with a V cut. Especially like you say, you have your torpedoes, you kind of the end of the torpedo on it, or even your piggies. Those are going to be good. Vitolas the cut with V cut. It's going to help enhance the flavor. But literally, V cut's my favorite. And if you ever want to be kind of spontaneous with the V cut, if you do it both ways, it's called a crown cut or a cross cut or an X cut.
Oh,
that's even more flavor than that.
Oh, okay. But you don't want to cut a sweet cigar with a V cut.
No, it'll cut off the sweet tip, and that's not what you really want. You want that flavor because that's how they built that cigar.
A lot of the flavor stays in the cap with the sweet one, so every time you inhale, you're getting the sweetness. So if you cut it off, then you pretty much lost the flavor.
Yeah.
Never knew. I'm learning. And then the guillotine, the straight cut.
Oh, can I tell him the trick that we learned?
Yeah.
Okay. So as soon as he got into cigars, I'm that partner, I'm that wife that was like, cool, let me research everything so I can help him out. So with the straight cut, so you don't cut off too much of the tip of the cigar, you can just place the cutter on the table and put your cigar in and cut it like that. It's a good like beginner measure. So you're not cutting too much of it off, because I know I probably would have cut off a huge chunk of the cigar the first time.
I chop it all off though. Oh, here it goes.
That was just a cool little trick that we learned, and he tells everybody.
Cool. Yeah, I need to practice that one.
Yeah, so just like she said, you just get your straight cut. So this one has all three. Look, it has the straight cut, the V cut, and then it got some punchers. A good tool, just so you can have if you want to try out different cuts. But literally, you're going to place this on the table, like she said, cut it. And it's going to take exactly the right amount off, so you're not getting all the tobacco in your mouth as well. It helps prevent that.
So what would one of those retail at? Estimate retail for one of those?
Honestly, it depends on your flavor. If you're a brand person, you can find one for $80. Or if you really just want to go on Amazon and try it out because you really don't know if it's for you, you can probably pick one up for about $25. And it's all the same thing, but except the higher end ones usually come with a lifetime warranty. So if anything happens, you send it back and they'll send you a new one.
So as a new beginner to the cigar world, you definitely want to invest into a punch and a cutter.
Yes.
You don't have to keep asking people in the store, can I borrow your punch and cutter?
Well, most good cigar lounges will have them readily available.
They will have, but if you have spoken among friends or something, most of them will cut. Yeah, typically they'll cut it before they and help you light it before when they give it to you. But you gotta have a cut. If you out trying to experiment by yourself in your garage, you cannot smoke the cigar without punching it or cutting it, whether that be V cut or a straight guillotine cut.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
While we on this, I'm curious. Have you ever tried dipping the cigar? Now, when I was in Cuba, they recommended a technique if you got like a bitter cigar of dipping the tip in honey and smoking.
I've never tried that, but I have tried dipping the cap in whiskey.
And I heard of that too.
Yeah, it does bring out a little bit more flavor, especially if your cigar is supposed to be paired with a whiskey. It just brings it out a little more.
So basically, you cut it? You cut it first, and then just dip the tip slightly into
You can, but I usually just kind of stir it in before, because just to get
before
the
cutting.
wet, because it's just gonna hold
Yeah,
the
the
moisture on
moisture.
it.
So you dip it before you cut it.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that's Arnold's way. If Arnold Schwarzenegger, that's the way he smokes his cigars. He dips it before he smokes it. Every cigar he does.
Now we promised you this last week. If you tuned in to our last week episode about how to care and store the cigar. Once you went to the store, you're excited. You then got your punch and you got your cigars. And we warned you, you can't just leave them in the car. Just come throw them on your dresser or in your garage or whatever. There's a proper way to take care of your cigar, and that is using a humidor and aging it properly.
Yep, definitely. So there's many kinds of humidors out there, right? You have we're going to get into the travel humidors in a little bit, but you have your desktop humidors, can hold up to 150, 200 cigars. You have your electric humidors, you have your cabinet humidors, and just literally everything in between.
And if you're real fancy, a walk-in humidor, but we're not that at that
Yeah,
not at that level yet.
That's big boy level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and most of the time, how you care for your cigars depends on the size that you have. So with technology, which is cool, the electronic humidors, they actually control the humidity and the temperature, which is both are very important. Being here in Texas, gets up to 100 degrees out there, hotter some other places. You don't want to keep them out at 75, 80-degree temperatures, because that helps, like, that promotes growth of mold.
Mhm.
And these things are plants, and unfortunately sometimes those plants have little bugs in them, and they won't grow if you have them in the right humidity and the right temperature. And it's not a bad thing. Like I said, every plant has them. One or two is going to escape, just like the imperfect cigars. So my preference, I like keeping my more higher end cigars at um, like a 65 humidity. And these little packets, they take all the guesswork out. So if you're new into the game, get a couple Bovita packs, put them in your humidors. One size like that will cover about 25 cigars. And then you have up to a bigger pack, which is,
And it has the percentages on them
yeah,
too.
a bigger pack.
Yeah.
This will cover about 100 cigars.
For how
So
long?
go ahead.
How long does one pack last typically?
So it depends. If you're just using one, it's going to last you about 3 months. I usually keep multiple in my humidors, and they last. I have some that's been lasting for about 6 months, but they feed off each other. So one's releasing humidity, the other one's absorbing it. So it's kind of like a back and forth type thing. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
I've
and
also
then
heard.
yeah, go ahead.
I also heard some people saying that you can restore them by dipping them in water or soaking them in water, whatever. And
So they say don't do that, but if you're really looking to, it's a budget friendly thing, you can just get either like a Tupperware, make sure it's clean, obviously. Get some distilled water, like a little Tupperware distilled water, put it in there, and leave the dried out packs in there, and it'll start absorbing that moisture, and it'll get back up to where it was. Now, they might not function, or they might not last as long. You're eventually going to have to replace them, but they do help out if you're in a
they're
pinch.
really inexpensive. Yeah,
Mhm.
And
got it.
there's other ways to do it too. There's electronic ones that take foam inside of it, or beads, just a little bit of distilled water, and they last 3 or 4 months. And that's the only thing you need to do. And most of them will connect to your phone, and any little issue you have, it'll pop up, and you can just go fix it right then and there.
So anyone, should we need to get our GoFundMe together? So if anyone wants to help me purchase a electronic humidor so I can keep my cigars at the right temperature and at the right humidity, you don't want me smoking moldy cigars, do you? I mean, these things are expensive, and I'm not throwing them away. We're gonna work around that mold. I haven't heard, maybe you have, but so far I have never heard of anyone getting sick from smoking or some cigar related bug or something from
Yeah,
Yeah.
smoking.
it's not
I
really.
think the only thing I've heard is if you're like a new smoker and you take in this like
Yeah.
too much smoke.
Oh yeah, that should have. Number one. Let me, good question. Number one tip. I'm telling you, this is not a cigarette. This is not marijuana. Do
Yeah.
not, under no circumstances, swallow the smoke of a cigar. That is the quickest way to end your enjoyment in what is it? I wouldn't call it a cigar career, but to put you out of the cigar lifestyle is
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
take that smoke. You do not inhale that smoke at all. You
Yeah.
take a puff and release. You might now sometimes I may hold the smoke in my mouth to get the taste and the flavors, but then you blow it
Hmm.
out, not in. And
Yeah.
you'll know if you get some of that smoke down your throat when it make you
Oh yeah.
very, very sick, especially with
Hmm.
alcohol. Don't do that. That's the
Yeah.
number one tip there. So we ended. So now we have made it to how you buy the cigar, how to cut the cigar, how to care for the cigar. Now you ready. It's your first day. You ready to, you got your lifestyle out the five shirt on because you got to look smooth. We talked about cigar swag last week, and now cigar and swag go together. So now you purchase your lifestyle out the five shirt. You looking good. You got your proper Italian leather shoes on, or even some nice expensive I don't know, Jordans, whatever you wear, and you looking good and you smell good. You got your cigars, you got this fancy humidor travel pack with you, and you go in there, but no one told you how to act. What,
Mm. Yeah.
what's some cigar etiquette for the lounges?
So, first thing is if you're going to go to a cigar lounge, either buy something from them. You got to support your local lounges. Your brick and mortar stores is what they call them. Now, like with Cigar International has alcohol and a humidor, so either way, you're going to be
Spending money at
spending
the
money.
establishment.
But a lot of cigar places, they're only the humidor, so just don't go in there and smoke your cigars you bring. Buy one, buy something, kind of support your local businesses. That's the first thing. Second thing, if you're new into the game, or you're just getting into it, don't go up and smell the cigars. Do not put them up to your nose and smell them and put them back. That's It's kind of unsanitary, and it's kind of disrespectful.
I'm guilty of that. I used to do that all the time. I just
I've done that once or twice, but I
Mhm.
was gonna buy it. I guess you smelled the cigar you wanted to buy. But
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
I made that mistake. This is why
Yeah.
we warning you. We made the mistakes already.
Hmm.
hmm
Yeah. Other things too is just, be respectful of your surroundings. There's going to be people there that, like we talked about before, they're just chill, you know, relax, kind of let the day go. Don't be that guy where you're, kind of loud, obnoxious, or just
hmm
causing attention to yourself. That throws off the whole vibe of the place. The other thing is be nice. Like, hey, what are you smoking? Can you give me any tips? Just kind of asking. Or a lot of the people, you'll be surprised if you go up and you talk to them, they'll talk to you back.
Yeah, they want to talk. I mean, they're in a cigar lounge. They want to talk to you about cigars. So you can't be afraid to ask questions, whether it be the staff or a fellow lounger that's there relaxing. And there are instances too where people go to these lounges with a significant other or friends, and they're not necessarily a smoker.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is I've seen people out who aren't smokers. I've had friends go with us who aren't smokers, and yeah, they'll try it, but at the same time, you don't want to be blowing smoke in somebody's face, or yeah, it's smoky in there, but still, like, not deliberately.
Yeah.
I've experienced it, and I have an appreciation and a disdain for that at the same time. And this is what I'm getting at. Because now the cigar lounge is now the new thing to do.
hmm
It's the new club. It's the new you got to be in. And you're right. It is getting filled in certain cases where, especially if there's music and stuff going, where the cigar lounge is being filled with non-smokers,
Yeah.
and they don't know the etiquette. They're not. They don't even. They're not into cigars, so they don't know the etiquette. They don't care about the etiquette. But they're coming in. They hogging the seating from the real smokers. And then they may purchase drinks, and I do welcome them. But you're sitting around there, you're trying to get a place to smoke your cigar. You're trying to find a corner because you are in a cigar bar and you're blowing smoke, and you got somebody over there like
Yeah.
you've been intrusive to them. Like I don't get to it. So if you're a non-smoker, you are welcome in the cigar lounge. But Be respectful of the smoke. It's a cigar bar, and let them have some seating so they can sit down and enjoy their cigar. Go stand in the corner somewhere till some seating come.
Yeah, that's about
Some
right.
other things
Yeah.
I wanted to we mentioned, always ask before lighting up. Be friendly, like you said. Be respectful. Use the ashtrays. Do not flick the
Yeah.
ashes on the floor and all over the counter and on other people.
Yes.
Dispose of your butts properly. And what is the proper way to dispose of a butt?
Okay, so there's a lot of debate, but most of the time you just leave it on the ring of the what is it, ashtray.
Ashtray.
They have multiple rings. Just leave it on there and let it go out. Just let it go out because if you start to kind of put it out, depending on what the ashtray is made of, you actually might burn it. It's not a cigarette where it's a little light. This is a big light and has a big ember, so you could
Yeah,
start
of course you
damaging.
light it. Now, I've seen mainly women that take a fork almost and smoke the butt
Oh, that's my
of
favorite
the
thing.
cigar. How
So
do you
if
do that? Because I'm sitting there with my fingers and it's like, it gets hot when you're sitting
yes,
around there, and it's like my lips and stuff is getting. You will burn your lips doing that, and I'm just sitting there like, how do women take it and burn it down to the without burning their lips up?
yeah, you have it's like a little pitchfork. I call it like a little pitchfork thing, and that was the issue I was having. I would tell him like, "Oh, I want to finish it, but I can't because it burns my fingers." And so he got me one of those, and it's the coolest thing. I love it because then you're just sitting there. I feel fancy,
Mm.
like I'm back in the day, old school, smoking a.
It's called either a nubber or a cigar pick. So if you ever look one up, that's what they are.
Invest in one if you
Yes.
want to smoke your
But
cigar all the
it
way.
doesn't
Yeah,
burn your lips though when you use the fork.
sometimes if like I'm smoking it too far down, then yeah, but no, not as bad if I'm using the fork. It was burning my fingers more than my lips.
So be careful if you're using a fork. I don't think it fits my style to use a fork, but to each his own.
Usually women do that, yeah. I
I
mean,
mainly see women use a fork, but I mean, to me, I'm not. You're never going to see me use a fork.
Yeah.
Not my thing. To each is his own. So, like we stated, the don'ts. Don't hog the seating. Don't
Yes.
blow smoke at others. This is not a smoke blowing competition. And like I said, allow. You got a cigar in your hand. Don't be loud and disruptive in a drink. And you know, encourage asking ask the staff if you're unsure. And like you said, then most of them will recommend cigars if you don't know what you want to smoke or what
Yeah.
you like. And every cigar bar I've went to, they've always been very friendly.
Mhm.
Yes, they usually are.
So next, and I struggle with this one, managing the cigar smell. This is one of the reasons why I don't smoke in the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is probably the toughest one. First getting into it, you might feel like, oh man, I smell, and you get used to it. Over the time, you get used to it. But there are some ways to manage it. For one, mouthwash. You can always carry mouthwash in your little travel bag or gum. Gum helps out. Or if you're close to home and you don't have time to shower and all that, or you have it real quick, brush your teeth with some baking soda. You Baking soda is the key to get rid of a lot of smells. So, say you've been smoking for a couple hours and your hands smell like cigar smoke, which is fine. Same thing. Get some hand soap, maybe a little bit of you know,
The hand sanitizer,
yeah,
like a citrusy
yeah.
scent. Yeah.
It'll help kill it. Then you get some baking powder or baking powder. I found that kind of helps me. It's kind of a little weird thing, but detergent, clothing detergent, because you just put a little bit on your hands, wash it off, and it's gone. So it's kind of a little weird thing, but it really does help. They don't make things specifically for that because but they do make sprays.
Yes.
They do make sprays, so I know that hey, you have your clothes or your car smells like smoke.
Yeah, it's a fabric spray.
Yeah,
It helps.
they have fabric sprays. It'll kill the smoke in the air. And if you need to smoke at home, you can get an air purifier. Um,
That's an investment,
that
though.
is an investment. You need to make
Yeah,
sure.
kind of expensive. Yeah.
You gotta really want to smoke inside. I don't think I want to smoke inside that badly.
Yeah.
So, real quick shout out
I
to
get
my.
another house. I do.
So
So I recommend brushing your teeth immediately after coming home smoking. I usually try to brush my teeth and gargle with mouthwash
Mhm.
immediately and jumping in the shower. But yeah,
Yes.
for health, for oral health, yeah, I would recommend immediately brushing your teeth and gargling with some type of mouthwash.
Hmm.
Uh, and your clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we'll take like a change of, well, at least a shirt.
Yeah.
How about, oh, do coffee beans help? They do, right?
Yeah, coffee beans do help. I mean, obviously, you can rub your hands with some coffee grounds, even like the instant stuff. So it's just like that. There's also some stuff, real quick. It's the mechanics. It's like orange goop. It's
Hmm.
mechanics,
Oh
and
yeah.
that stuff works magic. So, but with the clothes thing, you're gonna have to wash your clothes. You can do it regularly. You can do it with other clothes that smell like smoke. It's usually with the materials nowadays, it doesn't really stay in there, but there are special things that kill. They actually do have some washes and all that you can additives that you can add to your wash to help kill that smoke smell. But
Yeah. And keep them separate. Like when you come home from the cigar lounge and you get those smoky clothes, toss them to the side. Don't throw them in your hamper with everything else.
yeah,
Then everything starts smelling like smoke.
Also, I want to take this time to shout out everybody in the chat. If you got questions, drop your questions in, and maybe we can answer them real quick. That
yeah,
now it's better time than ever. While you got the what I call the aficionados on the line. Now we got the etiquette, but now you don't want to go to the cigar bar alone. You and a partner, you want to get your swag, you want to get your gear. You can visit our website at www.aliafter5.com and you can got your merch, your gear, you're ready. But you don't want to go alone. You want a friend, you want to take a friend along. How do you find like-minded cigar lovers?
I mean, there's a lot of ways. We've met people at the cigar lounge that, we hang out with, and he does the cigar groups online. So
yeah, and
shout
that's
out to the Aussies.
yeah, the Australians. We have a bunch of friends in Australia who love watching the show.
Well, you
So
won't be bringing them unless you take a flight. That's going to be an investment for to go with them.
Yeah,
yes, definitely.
but they do video calls, and
Yes,
it's called what, a herf?
a herf.
Yeah, it's
It's a
called
herf.
a herf. You basically just sit around with your friends and smoke a cigar. But I think it's really cool when you meet somebody in a group like that from across the world, and you can still get together and bond over something like
Yeah.
smoking a cigars, because there's video calls, smoke cigars, talk about it. It's really cool.
Like I said, just going to the lounge itself, I met a lot of friends, a lot, since I've been here in Texas, just by going to the cigar lounge and the owners, and you get the conversation is different at cigar lounges.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I want to say a little more professional, less rowdy, and more
yeah,
engaging and fun. And sometimes there's live entertainment. Sometimes we play dominoes.
yeah,
Yeah.
Camaraderie. There's like a bond between the cigar group. Once you come in, it's like coming into family. And most of them. One of my
yeah.
friends, he is a member of a cigar lounge in Atlanta, and I didn't catch which. He didn't say which lounge he went to, but he went to his local cigar lounge on Father's Day, and they had steaks and potatoes for him to eat.
Ooh.
Okay.
Then they wanted to make sure that the fathers get treated like kings. So
Oh
there's some perks to being in there. There's
yeah, yeah, definitely.
online form, like you mentioned, the online form you got. There's also Reddit and, like I said, our cigars, Facebook groups, and Cigar Dojo.
Yep.
I'm not. I wouldn't be a fan of those, but those may work on you. It's kind of hard to build that. I guess if you can video call, but to me, it's kind of hard in the online forums to kind of build a bond on someone with
Yeah.
Reddit. Reddit, you might can ask questions and learn from them on Reddit, but smoking and typing just ain't the same.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, but we do have people who are local. That's one good thing about the, like social media. You go on these websites and hey, I'm from San Antonio. I am too. Where do you go? Oh, Cigar
Oh yeah,
International. Go in there,
gosh.
and that's how you kind of build it, and then you kind of expand out to there. And you're gonna be if you like to travel, and some of these people are going to live in a state where you travel, you can meet up. That's another time. Like, yeah, it's a little awkward. You know them, but you don't know them. But it's still kind of like you're building that relationship, even if it's just minimal. I think it's the best way to do it. Like social media is just out there before you would actually have to go to a lounge and kind of try to find people who else smoke and
Which I mean, you can still do.
Yeah.
But
Now, I like I said, most cigar lounges too are host events and stuff and tastings where you can go and meet people. So now let's look at you're traveling. You didn't got your buddies and you want to go to Australia and you want to meet up with one of your newfound buddies in Australia, or your Australian buddies want to come here and meet you and go to a lounge. What's the best way? This is our bonus, by the way, to travel with a cigar.
So, unfortunately, there's a lot of
rules and regulations through the FAA.
So you can carry your cigars on you. That's not a big thing. I have a travel humidor. This is mine. It carries about 20 cigars, but I like to carry extra cigars because if somebody needs one or they want to trade, whatever the case.
Bring an extra cigar. I want to take this time to shout out Coffee to Code. He said he went to our website. We appreciate that. You might want to tell your friends about this swag.
Yeah. So it just really depends. I mean, you don't need something big like that. You can get a 5-stick, especially if you're going to go visit cigar lounges wherever you go. Once again, Bovita. You're gonna be in. If you're going on an airplane, you're going to be pressurized.
Yeah.
So the one thing about traveling on an airplane with cigars is you can't take a torch lighter at all unless it's in your carry-on or your check-in bag. Can't have it on your carry-on. You have your cigars and your cutter in your carry-on, and a regular soft flame lighter is what they call it. So you can get all that stuff confiscated, if they feel like being jerks. But
and they most likely will.
Yeah. I mean, but most of the time, take something cheap. You always have a backup just in case it does get taken. You go find somewhere that has it. Usually, most airports have places you can buy cigarettes from, and they have cutters and lighters. But like I said, traveling is just as important when you're storing your cigars. Your Bovita is going to be important. You're going to be in different parts of the world, different parts of the country. Humidity is going to play a big role. Temperature is going to play a big role. So it's just make sure you keep your cigars on you. Don't put them in your kind of your carry-on or your check-in, because it gets cold up in the, when you're flying, it gets cold up in there. So it could ruin some of those cigars, especially come back up to temp. It could just cause more moisture than it really needs to be in there.
That's cool. So Gilberto asked, in the cigar lounge, if you purchase a cigar from them, are you still able to smoke one of your own collection as well after purchasing?
Purchasing from them is just more, that's just common courtesy. Especially if it's a local business. We have a lot of, the brick and mortar that are owned locally. You just want to go in and support. So, even if it's a cheap cigar, just go in, buy one, but you can still smoke what it is that you bring. Yes. Now, I will say we have encountered lounges where you're going to just go in and smoke what you take. There's a fee. Some lounges will charge you to do that.
Yeah.
I've heard
if you buy something from them or not. So keep that in.
I've heard of some lounges that there's a fee to smoke your own cigars. Not sure what it was. I usually just go there and buy what they got to try something new. But you want to buy a drink and a cigar. You don't want to just sit in there because they got to pay for the music, the entertainment, the lights, and everything else. And they can't do that if everybody's coming in now smoking for free. So I don't know, sit in your garage for that. So appreciate
True. So I do add with the traveling, and only because we experienced this. We went on a cruise last year, and I thought it was the funniest thing. Think about where you're going and if you're going to want to smoke. So many people, when we ported in Mexico, bought cigars, and he and I would have a cigar every night on the deck after dinner. I cannot tell you how many people approached him. Can I borrow your cutter? Can I borrow your lighter? Yeah. They had nothing with them. They were like, man, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Well, how do you bring? Well, they might be beginners and they haven't watched this show, and that's one of the things why I always say, go invest. If you're going to get into this lifestyle, invest in your lighter and invest into your own punch and cutter. because don't want to annoy someone by always study. Can I borrow this? Can I borrow that?
And it's not like an annoyance. I think that, well, what ended up happening is like his lighter ran out because everybody was using it, and like nobody's really going to get annoyed with that. But I mean, if you're gonna partake in this lifestyle and you're not really sure if it's something that's going to last, go on Amazon,
Yeah.
find something cheap and try it out.
It won't hurt.
Yes.
Mhm.
Wow. But yeah, well, this has been an awesome show. I hope everyone enjoyed. Shout out to everyone in the comments. We appreciate the participation. We hope that you learned. Don't forget to like and share this video. We out here to spread the cigar lifestyle to those. Make sure you smoke responsibly and take all necessary precautions. And we will be back next week with Patrick and Victoria. I wonder what they might have in store for us next week.
We'll find out next week.
We'll see.
Other than that, you all stay safe, and we'll see you later.
See you later, guys.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Definitely.